All right, we are here in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, I'm going to be bringing you episode 6 of The Hardcore's Delight for the month of June of 2017. And if you guys are new here, you haven't watched this series just yet. Basically, what I do here, man, is I'll pick one regional MMA show from the month, whatever month I'm breaking down. I'll focus in on that one. After I'm done with that, I'll briefly go over the other notable regional MMA events for the month of June, and then I'll top it off by talking about some recent UFC signings, some notable ones, if there even is any. Sometimes there even isn't. But yeah, man. If you guys didn't see yesterday, I did something for the first time. I live streamed my reaction to the Aldo versus Holloway fight, and a bunch of you guys got in there. I had about 30 people at the peak, and I was talking in the live chat with a lot of you guys, and just put it up last night and it's already got 500 views, so thank you so much for watching that. And if you haven't seen it yet, check it out, man. I go crazy, and I may or may not have been a little alcohol induced. It was a lot of fun to chat it up with you guys and show you my live reaction to the fight, Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. Huge congratulations to Max Blessed Holloway. That was fucking amazing. And of course, man, this episode of the Hardcore's Delight is brought to you by the MMAKelton.com. Highly recommend you go over there, check that website out. Tons of cool shit on there, man. Great articles, full of a great group of guys. Just tons of fun shit. Other great content creators such as myself on there. So highly recommend going to check out the MMATakeover.com and follow them on Twitter, man, because they're an entertaining Twitter page. So, getting right into it, man, as you can tell by the title, the event I'm going to be featuring for this episode, and I don't think I could have picked anything but this, man. Bellator NYC Sonnen versus Silva. Obviously, the greatest Bellator card of all time, in my opinion. I mean, this shit amazing. I mean, the main event and the co-main event, it's the old timer division. But I mean, it's fun old timer fights, man. A heavyweight fight and then a fight with Wanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen, who's just had a very long rivalry. But then looking at the rest of the main card, man, the two title fights, Douglas Lima versus Lorenz Larkin, that's the best fight on the card in my opinion. Two amazing strikers, and I'm having a hard time picking a winner in that fight. And then Michael Chandler defending his belt against Bret Primus. I have some very strong feelings in that fight. Talk about that in a second. And then the highly anticipated debut of Aaron Pico, who is just a big phenom prospect, Olympian caliber wrestler who is going to be making his MMA debut here. And he's just not making his MMA debut against some scrub, man. Zach Freeman is who he is making his debut against, 8-2 fighter. But I got some strong feelings on that one too. And then in the prelims, man, they're calling it Bellator 180. It's going to be live on Spike. The other 5 fights are going to be on pay-per-view. But the headliner of the Spike portion of this card is Phil Davis versus Ryan Bader 2 for Phil Davis's Bellator light heavyweight title. And then all kinds of fun shit in the prelims, man. We're going to go over this almost the whole card. There's some shit on here as well, but yeah, man, gonna get right into this. Anything else to get into with you guys? Drop a like button. Takes 2 seconds. Comment below. Tell me who you're thinking about possibly betting on. There's no odds out for this card, but tell me what you got strong feelings for. Subscribe to the channel. Awesome shit coming to the channel as always. But let's get right into this card, man. So first fight listed on this card, man. You got Heather Hardy, who is a professional women's boxer who's done very well for herself in boxing. She is making her MMA debut here. So she's 0-0. She's fighting this girl, Alice Yager, who is 4-5. I'm just going to click on her in a second. But, man, this girl may be 4-5, but experience is a big factor in MMA, man. So yeah, this girl Alice Yager's got some losses against some decent competition. Jessica Middleton and Rebecca Ruth. Decision win over Shannon Sin, who was fought in Invicta. This might be a tough out for Heather Hardy, but absolutely, if she can keep it on the feet, she's going to show off that world-class boxing and probably piece this girl up. So my prediction is probably going to be a Heather Hardy first round TKO. But you never know, man. Tiffany Timebomb has been struggling in MMA as of late. It's just a whole different sport, man, so you really never know. But nonetheless, I'm going with Heather Hardy, first round knockout. Next up, Carrie Ann Melendez, the wife of Gilbert Melendez. She's 1-0. Looked fan-fucking-tastic in her debut. Just completely pieced the girl up. And she's giving her another jobber here, man. Sadie Williams, 0-1. As an amateur, she did go 1 loss, 1 draw. So the girl she's fighting hasn't even picked up a win yet in MMA thus far. And Carrie Ann Melendez is shown to be kind of legit, man. So I'm definitely going to be going with her. I'm going to say, I know I'm picking these kind of outcomes for women's fights, man, but I really feel strongly about it. I think Carrie Ann Melendez will get that first round TKO. Couple of jobber fights here, like 4-7 versus 0-1 guys. Then you got Ryan Couture in the prelims, who has been a little bit of a disappointment in MMA so far. I mean, the dude's decent. He's got good wrestling, but he's not that great, to put it at the mildest. And most people will think, oh, he's Randy Couture's son. He's still young. Nah, man. Randy Couture is an old bastard. So Ryan Couture's 34 years old. You think of Randy Couture's son, you think of a young guy, but this guy's 34 years old. If he wants to make something happen in his career, it's got to happen now. And he's fighting this guy, Hayam Ghazali, who fights out of Israel, 7-3. He's got 3 losses, 2 of them by submission. Wow, this guy fought Jacare Souza and Carlos. This guy fought Carlos Newton in 1998 and fought Jacare in 2006. Since 2012, he only has 1 fight, and it was a leg lock first round submission against an 0-0 guy. So, wow, I have no idea what to expect here. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, since this guy is so inactive, and obviously if he fought Carlos Newton in 1998, the dude's got some age on him. I'm just going to say Ryan Couture gets this done via wrestling. With most of these prelim fights, I didn't really do tape, as you can tell. But next, Nyman Gracie. Of course, part of the infamous Gracie family. He's 5-0. I believe 5 submissions, I want to say. Yeah, he got 1 decision in there. First round submission over Rudy Bears in his last fight, who is kind of a jobber, but he's still an experienced, decent guy. Nyman Gracie is fighting this guy, Dave Marfoni, 5-2. Looking at his record here, has a KO/TKO loss to an 0-0 guy. It seems like this guy either gets an early win or he kind of just flops over and dies. So I'm going to say, without doing tape study, this Marfoni guy starts out strong, and then Nyman Gracie takes over and gets that late first round submission or early second round submission. So submission victory for Nyman Gracie, in my opinion. And then awesome prelim fight here. I can't wait for this one, man. James Gallagher, 6-0. Out of SBG Ireland, is taking on Shinzo Machida. Now, Shinzo Machida is a little long in the tooth. He is Lyoto Machida's older brother. He's only 5-2, but he's had like 2 or 3 recent fights. Like, there was a while like he didn't fight for like 5 years, and then he just had 2 recent Bellator fights, and he got the knockout finish in them both. Man, I don't know what to think of this, because in Shinzo's last fight, he was fighting this guy who's not a striker by any means. He's a grappler, and that's what mostly James Gallagher is. He's a grappler. So the thing is, stylistically, this should be good for James Gallagher. He should be able to take down Shinzo, out-grapple him, maybe even pick up that submission. But Shinzo's so tricky on the feet. He's just a tricky guy overall. James Gallagher might be a little, I don't want to say stage fright, but he might be a little nervous to go in for that takedown against the crafty Shinzo Machida. So honestly, man, I don't know what to think of this fight. It depends on how aggressive James Gallagher decides to be. Because if he's too patient for those takedowns, Shinzo is just going to piece him up on the feet for 3 rounds. And even if he does go for those takedowns aggressively, he might get caught. I don't know, man. This is tough. It's such a huge age difference in this fight, man. I want to say James Gallagher is like younger than me. He is, yeah, he's 20 years old. Shinzo Machida, I want to say, is 40 years old. So that's Shinzo is 40. So 20 versus 40 here. That's just nuts. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go with the upset here, and I'm sure he probably will be the underdog. I'm gonna go with Shinzo Machida here. I think he's gonna be too tricky, and I think he's the perfect kind of crafty, tricky veteran to give James Gallagher his first loss. So if I can get a good underdog price on old Shinzo Machida, I'm gonna be taking that for sure. And then moving on to this prelim main event, the main event on the Spike portion of this card, the rematch of Phil Davis defending his Bellator 205-pound title against Ryan Bader. Now the first fight in that was in the UFC and that Sweden Rumble versus Gustafsson card. Ryan Bader was a pretty big underdog going into that. And the way it played out, I thought Phil Davis won, but it could have gone either way. They gave it to Ryan Bader. And here, I think I'm going to be going with Phil Davis here again, despite Bader winning the first one. I think he's got better cardio. This is a 5-round fight. I think he's already got those Bellator fights under his belt, so he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. I know Ryan Bader has fought on the biggest stage of them all, but it's still different when you come to Bellator. I mean, we've seen some of these UFC vets come over to Bellator, and it's just different, and they have some struggles, man. And I just think Phil Davis is probably got more gas left in the tank when it comes to career wise. Better athlete. I like him a lot here, man, and he's made some improvements on his striking as well. Ryan Bader has this is a good fight, man. I know the first one was kind of boring, and both these guys are typically boring fighters, but two top 10 light heavyweights in the world. I appreciate the technical action quite a bit, so I'm really looking forward to this fight. My official prediction, I'm going to go with Phil Davis via a 49-46 decision. So moving on to this pay-per-view portion of the card. Aaron Pico, like I was talking about earlier, obviously 0-0. There's no tape on him. All we know is he's a sensational wrestler, and I want to say the dude's 19 or 20. Very highly touted wrestler. Yeah, he's 20 years old. He's been training at the American Kickboxing Academy, so they're trying to sharpen up his striking. And like I said, he's fighting a guy who's actually very experienced MMA, has 10 fights, fought for titles, and I want to say he fought for the RFA title. But they did exactly, they know exactly what they're doing here. They wanted to put Aaron Pico against a good guy in Zach Freeman, who, he's all right. But against a good guy with questionable takedown defense. So, man, it's hard to pick a guy who's 0-0 in MMA against a guy who's 8-2 in MMA, but I think Aaron Pico is that special of a wrestler that he's going to be able to get Zach Freeman down over the course of 3 rounds. If not, get that submission, man. And this is at a 155 pounds, by the way. But yeah, I'm going to go with Aaron Pico via, I'll say, a 30-27 decision. Up next, man, Michael Chandler defending his Bellator lightweight championship against Bret Primus, 7-0. And I have insanely strong feelings on this one. A lot of people wrote Michael Chandler off after the second loss to Will Brooks. Kind of looked bad in that fight. Got really picked apart. The knockout was scary. But he's come back with 4 straight, I want to say 4 straight finishes as well. He submitted Derek Campos in the first round. Yeah, submitted Derek Campos in the first round, knocked out Dave Rickles in the second round, knocked out Patricky Freire in the first round, and then decision went over Benson Henderson. So Benson Henderson's a hard guy to finish, but Michael Chandler looked super impressive in that fight. And then you got Bret Primus, 7-0. He is 5-0 in Bellator. His first 3 fights in Bellator, he fought kind of like the jobbers. First round sub, first round knockout. And then his last 2 fights against decent guys, and Derek Anderson and Glaristone Santos. He got split decision wins on both those. I thought he lost both those fights, and when you're talking about Michael Chandler, I think he's just levels above all 3 of those guys I just named, Primus, Santos, and Anderson. I think he's just a big step above. So if Brett Primus is going to split decision with Santos and Anderson, I think Michael Chandler should absolutely roll here. I haven't seen anything that shows Brett Primus can stop the takedowns. I haven't seen anything that shows me he's going to have anything for Michael Chandler on the feet. I think this is Michael Chandler all day, and this is without a doubt my most confident pick of the card. It's pretty unfortunate though, because I'm sure Michael Chandler will be minus 500, minus 600, so probably going to be unbettable there. But I'm going to go with Michael Chandler, first round submission, in my opinion. So moving on here, man, best fight of the card, in my opinion. Douglas Lima defending his Bellator 170 title against Larkin, making his Bellator debut. So man, a lot of people, I don't want to say they wrote Douglas Lima off, but people for sure thought he would not get that title back, and he would be somewhat on a decline in his career after the Koreshkov loss. But he got that. I forgot who he beat after the Koreshkov loss that gave him the rematch. I feel like he looked really. Oh, he beat Paul Daly, right? Yeah, lost to Koreshkov, unanimous decision to Paul Daly, and then knocked out Koreshkov in the rematch. So Douglas Lima, very legit. That shows a lot about who he is as a person to come back from that Koreshkov loss and then knock him out in the next fight. And then you got Larkin, who's just an absolute beast of a striker who was killing it in the UFC before he came over to Bellator. I want to say he's undefeated at 107. No, he did. No, he lost to Albert Tumanov in a fight I thought could go either way. So at 170 pounds, the guy he's 4-1. Wins over Doomsday Howard, Santiago Ponzinibbio, a finish over Santiago Ponzinibbio, very impressive. Decision win over Jorge Masvidal, and then a first-round knockout of Neil Magny, and then, like I said, split decision loss to Albert Tumanov. Fight I thought could go either way. I did think Tumanov won, but man, this is awesome fight. I think both these. I really when I think of this fight, I just think it's very evenly matched. I'm seeing like a 5-round split decision. Honestly, man, it's hard to say. I'm gonna go. I think he's gonna be the underdog here, but I'm gonna go with the champ, Douglas Lima. I think Douglas Lima gets that decision win over the course of 5 rounds. I'm not confident in that in the slightest, but I'm gonna go with Douglas Lima over the course of 5 rounds. I'm gonna say 48-47 split decision. And if he's somewhere around plus 140, plus 150, I'm going to have to take that shot. But I'm definitely thinking the line on this is going to be somewhere around even. But yeah, man, I like the champ Douglas Lima there. So moving on. Co-main event of the evening, and I've broke this fight down in the past, but it got rescheduled. Fedor Emelianenko taking on Meathead Mitrione. And I had a play on Mitrione. I liked Mitrione in this fight, still do. I think, and it's that Fabio Maldonado fight that Fedor Emelianenko had. The fact that Fabio Maldonado could do those things to Fedor, it makes me think that a guy that hits as hard as Matt Mitrione can put Fedor away. But the thing is, Matt Mitrione's got a questionable chin as well. It's funny, both these guys have gotten cracked as of recently, and they both came back to win, although I don't think Fedor won that Maldonado fight. That was just a completely bad decision. Should have been a draw. I just think Matt Mitrione, he's younger, he's got less miles on him, he's taken less damage. I got Matt Mitrione first round knockout. I'm honestly not as confident as I was the first time around. I'm not really sure what's changed, but I'm just not feeling that same level of confidence. I think it's just when the fight was originally made, just hearing people's arguments for Fedor, it kind of like made me less confident in Mitrione. Nonetheless, still going with Mitrione. I got Matt Mitrione first round knockout. And then the main event here, Chael Sonnen versus Wanderlei Silva at 205 pounds. These guys have had a long rivalry. It's awesome that this fight is finally going to happen. Knock on wood, still 20 days away. But I'm having a tough time picking a winner here. I actually did pick Tito Ortiz in that upset against Chael Sonnen. Unfortunately, didn't bet it. But I don't know, man. I think I don't know how serious Chael Sonnen's taking this shit. So that makes me really like want to pick Wanderlei Silva. But Wanderlei Silva's been gone so long, and I'm not convinced the dude can stuff the takedowns. Um, okay, the thing is, if Chael Sonnen can take him down in the first round and not submit him, I think Chael Sonnen he may be a little gassed there. Wanderlei Silva could be gassed. This fight's just all kinds of crazy. Both these guys are just way past their prime, and just all kinds of question marks on them both. I don't know if Wanderlei Silva is going to be juicing up for this fight. I mean, if we're looking at a juiced up Wanderlei Silva for this fight, I mean that's just an easy pick. But I don't know, man. My brain is telling me Wanderlei Silva gets that knockout. So official prediction: extreme lack of confidence here, but I'm gonna go with Wanderlei Silva via a first round knockout over Chael P. Sonnen. So that's going to do it for Bellator NYC, guys. Already gone 20 minutes in this video, but briefly going to go over all the notable regional events for the month of June here. Not the most stacked month. I mean, there's a UFC every single weekend in June, but there's not a whole lot of regional MMA, which is fine. Like I said, UFC every weekend. So, here we go, man. M1 Challenge. M1's a good promotion. Wednesday, June 14th. A couple of notable fights on there. In the co-main event, you got Ivan Bushinger. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Who's I want to say he's a Croatian or Russian. I don't. He's Slovakia. Okay, I was off. But he's a good fighter, man. 31-5, great record. He's only lost to like upper echelon guys like Conor McGregor, and who else does old Ivan have losses to? He's got a loss to a Russian in his most recent fight. Yeah, but Ivan's a good fighter, and he's fighting this guy Timur Najibin, 9-2 Russian. Didn't do any tape on these fights, just bullshitting you guys here. But I like Ivan just because of the kind of caliber fighters he's beaten, and that 31-5 record ain't nothing to shy away at. But the main event here, man, this is all kinds of fun. You know you're getting a first round knockout here. Sergey Haratonov versus Sokaju. All kinds of fun, man. Both guys have been getting knockouts recently, and both guys have been getting knocked out recently. I think Haratonov is the sharper striker. I think he hits a little harder. I think this is. Oh, nope, this is not in Russia. This is in China. I was about to say Haratonov got that home crowd, but I'm going to go with Haratonov. I think he's the sharper striker, hits a little harder, is a little bigger. So first round knockout for Sergey Haratonov. TKO 39. I've never brought up this event in a Hardcore's Delight before, but their events are on Fight Pass. They're always worth checking out. It's a Canadian promotion. They've got some good Canadian prospects. The only guys on this card I recognize it's only because I've heard Robin Black talk about these guys, is the Laramie brothers, who are really young but decent prospects. Tony Laramie, 3-0, is fighting on this card against a 3-1 guy. And then TJ Laramie, who's 5-2, is fighting a 7-4 guy. So I think if you're not doing anything that Friday the 16th, I think TKO is worth checking out on Fight Pass. ACB 62 is on Saturday the 17th. Nothing really notable in this card. Kind of just wanted to shout ACB out. LFA 14 is on Friday the 23rd. And there's a couple notable things. There's actually some names I recognize on here, man. Colby Northcutt, the sister of Sage Northcutt, is making her MMA debut at 135 pounds. She's fighting another 0-0 fighter named Courtney King. Let me see if Courtney King's got an amateur record here. She does have an amateur record. Her amateur record is indeed 5-3. And all her wins are against fighters with losing or even records, and all her losses are against 1-0, 3-2, 2-1. I think Colby Northcutt, she's probably got way better striking than this girl, so I'm going to go with her. David Acosta is a fighter I've heard of before. He's fighting on the card. But in the main event, a highly touted prospect who I think very highly of, Eric Anders, 7-0. Middleweight division. He's fighting Brendan Allen, 7-1. Never heard of Brandon Allen, but Eric Anders, former linebacker for Alabama, college football, world champion. Great athlete. The dude's really he's turned himself into a great MMA fighter as well. I think the sky's the limit for this dude. Great athleticism, physically imposing, super aggressive. Like it a lot. He's got 7-0 with 6 finishes. 5-1 amateur record, only loss being a decision win. But I think Eric Anders is a very good prospect, and he should probably roll here and knock out Brendan Allen in the first round. Cage Warriors 85, also Saturday the 24th. Nothing really notable on this card. Just wanted to shout them out. That's on Fight Pass. One championship Friday the 30th, very early in the morning. There's only one fight announced for this card right now. Vitaly Big Dash defending his middleweight title against Yong La Song. Guy's 19-10. Vitaly Big Dash 9-0. I've watched Vitaly's last couple fights. Dude could be something in this 185-pound division. He's not bad at all. So for sure going to be going with the Russian there. And then interesting, man. Friday the 30th at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. PFL1 Professional Fighters League. That's the organization with John Fitch and all those guys. They're putting on an event, man. And it's funny because I was looking at this card and it's basically WSOF 2.0. I think all of these fighters on the card are signed with WSOF. John Fitch is taking on Brian Foster in the main event. I'm thinking John Fitch gets the decision win via grappling there. Hani Marks taking on Smelino Rama at 205 pounds. I think I like Smelino there. Joao Zeffirino is fighting on the card. He's fighting a guy I never heard of, Herman Torrado. I like Zeffirino. And then Carlos Fodor is taking on Jason High. I probably like Jason High there. But yeah, that's going to do it for all these regional MMA shows for the month of June. Quickly going to go over any UFC signings that happened recently. I don't think there has been any. I could be wrong. Holy shit. Gokhan Saki, man. If you guys don't know Gokhan Saki, one of the greatest, I'm going to say it, man, one of the greatest kickboxers. He's a kickboxing legend, man. He's only 33 years old, which is young for these big weight classes. But he just signed with the UFC. He's 0-1 in MMA, but that first fight was in 2004. I'm sure the guy's been training very hard since then. His kickboxing record, 83 wins. 83 wins. 16 losses, and has wins over guys you might know. Tyrone Spong, the other Anderson Silva, not the Spider. Good wins. Melvin Manhoff. Tyrone Spong again. Ray Cepho. He's got some good kickboxing wins, man. He's been in there with Badr Hari. So Gokhan Saki joining a very lackluster Jesus Christ, what's the word I'm looking for? Division, Jesus. 205 pounds. I think he can immediately jump into the top 10 just based on his striking alone. Hopefully he's worked on that takedown defense. Because if the dude can establish some good takedown defense, that striking alone is good enough to get him into the top 5. Who knows what this guy could become. Any other signings besides good old Gokhan Saki? Yeah, I don't see any. So that's probably going to do it for me, guys. That is it. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I love doing these. These are kind of like a less, like, I want to say professional format. I kind of just sit here and bullshit with you guys. This is like my laid back fun video where I kind of just talk to you guys about MMA, just shoot the shit. So if you made it this far into the video, appreciate it very much. Don't forget to like that or hit that like button. Comment below. Tell me what just any thoughts you got from watching this video. Subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at MMAKelton. And by the way, if you didn't watch my Aldo versus Holloway live reaction video, go watch that. I had tons of fun. Like I said, it was alcohol induced, so it was all kinds of fun. Funny shit, man. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and above all, enjoy these fights.